the Reverend Jesse Jackson, civil rights icon, a man who marched with Martin Luther King, a man who, like Martin Luther King, risked his life for the cause of equality in America, a man whose tireless work has brought equal rights and fair treatment and civil rights under the law, a man whose tireless work in government and out of government helped lay the foundation for perhaps our first black president in American history. The Reverend Jesse Jackson has passed away at the age of 84. There is so much to be said about this man. So much to be said about a man who put himself out there at great risk to himself for the cause of freedom in this country, for the cause of equality in this nation. There is so much to be said about him. He is gone from us, and his legacy will be remembered as one of patriotism, of freedom, and of equality in this nation. People from around the nation have already given their greatest words to this great man. Former presidents have spoken out for this man, giving them their condolences and remembering the tireless work he did for equality in our nation. And unfortunately, all of that was completely undone by the man that we are forced to call the President of the United States, Donald Trump. I read from his Truth Social post earlier this morning. I'm not going to do my Trump voice because this is way too serious to understand. The Reverend Jesse Jackson is dead at 84. I knew him well, long before becoming president. He was a good man with lots of personality, grit, and street smarts. He was gracious, someone who truly loved people, despite the fact that I am falsely and consistently called a racist by the scoundrels and lunatics on the radical left, Democrats, all. It was always my pleasure to help Jesse along the way. I provided office space for his Rainbow Coalition for years in the Trump building at 40 Wall Street, responded to his requests in getting help for getting criminal justice reform passed and signed, when no other president would even try. Single-handedly pushed and passed along long-term funding for HBCUs, which Jesse loved, but also other presidents would not do. Respond to Jesse's support for opportunity zones, the single most successful businessmen and women, and much more. Jesse was a force of nature like few others before him. He had too much with the election without acknowledgement or credit of Barack Hussein Obama, a man who Jesse could not stand. He loved his family greatly, and to them I send my deepest sympathies and condolences. Jesse will be missed. President Donald J. Trump. Now, I would like to think that Donald Trump meant every word he said in this post. I would really like to believe that. But his post and his words completely went off the rails the moment he made it about himself. When he said, "I'm falsely and consistently called a racist," forget the fact that Donald Trump is a liar, because he is a racist, i.e., that video he posted about Barack Obama and Michelle Obama dressed up as apes. That he has himself has said, and I quote, "I will not apologize for I did not nothing wrong." You have no right to talk about Jesse. You have no right to talk about Jesse Jackson at all because you've done nothing for the man. And quite honestly, if Jesse Jackson spoke out against you, you would post that video with his face superimposed on a monkey. The fact is, Trump, you just couldn't, you can't turn your ego off for one damn second, especially in light of something like this happening. A man who lived 84 years and spent the majority of his life fighting for equal rights for all Americans, especially Americans of color, the work that you and your administration, from Pete Hegseth to J.D. Vance to Stephen Miller, are trying to destroy. And we know this for a fact. You show it every day. You ain't even tried to hide what you're trying to do. The fact of the matter is this. You can't even turn it off for one moment. You can't turn it off. It's the same kind of pattern with you, Trump, that you've shown almost your entire life, not just in politics, but your entire life. But let's focus on you being president. Whenever a disaster happens in this country, whether it be a natural disaster like a hurricane or a twister, something that devastates an entire community, families losing loved ones to death, families losing their homes and their jobs. We don't hear anything from you other than some tape-canned love and sympathies and thoughts and prayers from you. The only time we ever see you in the near a disaster is when a television camera is there. The perfect example is the COVID-19 pandemic. You tried to take credit for doctors and nurses finding a way out of this pandemic and finding a vaccine. You tried taking credit for that. You don't know how to turn off your ego for one moment, not even in the wake of disaster, but when you're trying to wish the country Merry Christmas or Happy Thanksgiving. You can't even turn your ego off for that. As if you got to attack everyone every second and every single day. A man who has done a whole hell of a lot more than you. A man who is more of an American than you has passed away. And instead of showing your thoughts and prayers, instead of giving the prayers to the family, instead of showing some kind of humanity, some kind of decency, you made it all about yourself and your hatred of President Obama. We've gone past your ego. There is something definitely wrong with this man. And maybe you've been like this all your life, but since you became president, it's more flushed out. But right now, Trump, you don't have the right or the blessing to mention Jesse Jackson's name. Because quite simply, your administration, like I said earlier, is doing everything to destroy everything that Jesse Jackson stood for. And you know it, I know it. And you know the saddest, destructive thing to all of this? The saddest thing is that you don't have the common courtesy, the common humanity to say a great American is lost to us. Jesse Jackson represented the best of America. You know why you don't have the grace to do that? Because you, Donald Trump, and your minions and your supporters represent the worst of us, the worst of America. And I do not apologize for saying that, because you, your minions, and your supporters make it all too clear. CTP, no truth. God bless. Peace to the left, justice to the right.